Hi, welcome to Love Saranghae with Peter and Andrea. In the next 30 minutes, we'll take you on a journey into the exciting world of entrepreneurship, relationships, and the secrets behind achieving that coveted glow. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Love Saranghae with Peter and Andrea. Today we're diving deep into the realm of creating big, scary goals, both in our personal and business lives. When we say the big goals, when we say that we're creating and talking about big goals, we're talking about the ones that scare us a little or maybe even a lot. The goals that are going to push us to step way outside of our comfort zones and to help us to grow as individuals, because ultimately a goal is to grow.
That's right. And Andrea, I think before we get to the meat of it, I think it's a good idea to define what a goal is. So let's start with that.
All right. So I find as entrepreneurs, we tend to spend a lot of time working in the business and not enough time working on the business, working on the day-to-day operational tasks and not enough time in the bigger picture stuff. We often get pulled from one meeting to the next, one task to the next, and we don't get enough time to really create our big goals. What would we love? So, what is a goal? A goal is something you're going after that you've never done before. It is designed to help you grow and causes you to draw something from yourself that you didn't even know was there. So if you already know how to reach your goal, it's not big enough. It's not going to do what a goal is designed to do, push you beyond your comfort zone to achieve maximum growth. Does this make sense? Are you with me? Have I lost you?
No, it's good.
So if you already know, when you're in the goal creation phase, I would really love you to consider these 3 questions. So first, number 1, does your goal scare you or make you feel, does the goal feel like it's something rather out of reach or something that you have no idea how to achieve just yet? Number 2, is your goal something that you really want to do, be, or have? And number 3, is your goal clear and concise? So 1 to 3 sentences max.
So my goal of keeping my coffee intake to 2 cups a day, is that a goal or is that just too simple?
That is absolutely not a goal.
I failed my goal today.
You already know how you're going to do it. You've done it before. Every day. But it is clear and concise. So you got 1 of the 3. So this is Peter and I, jokes aside, this is how Peter and I come up with our goals in our business and in our personal life. It's fun, it's exciting, and it's scary to challenge ourselves to see if we can even achieve these things. But I'll tell you a little secret. Once you put it out there, we most often always do achieve them. So this one's going to be a good one. Peter, do you want to talk a little bit about why you started going after these really big personal goals, like climbing a mountain for the first time, running 100 kilometers for trail races, just a few days before your 50th birthday?
Yes. So just so you and the listeners know, I have been waiting for this episode since we decided to do the podcast. So I'm very excited to share my...
This is why he agreed to do the podcast.
I love talking about running. And so I'd love to share my story. And to answer the question you just posed, I need to give our listeners some context. All right. So here we go. So a little bit of a story. So
go get your coffee.
So hang on. Here, I've got 3 big goals coming up this year. And each one of them demands months of intense preparations. The first one is on May 25th. I'm running a 100 kilometer, which is a 62-mile ultra marathon. Okay. Then after that, on July 21st, I make an ascent off of Mount Athabasca, the highest peak in the Rocky Mountains. And it's a pretty intense climb. And then on August 25th, I run the Ultrax 50K ultra marathon in the Alps. So it's a 31-mile race with 12,700 feet of elevation gain. This is my gold race. This is what I'm really training for, to run the Mount Swiss Alps. It's going to be epic, but also very, very difficult to do. So 4 years ago, I was 265 pounds. I was actually tipping around 270. I was smoking a pack every 2 days. And I think I actually had a minor heart attack. I know this because I talked around, and yes, I think I had a heart attack. I was as unmotivated and as unhealthy a human could possibly get. So in June of 2008, that was about, I guess, 6 years ago now, my friend Jesse asked me to hike Mount Washington with him. I said yes. And the next day, I stopped smoking completely. So that was win one, right? And I haven't had a cigarette since that day.
Talk about motivation.
Yeah.
How many people who are listening in on this are smokers?
Exactly.
And yeah, I mean, former smoker also. Yeah, so we all understand how challenging it is to quit. But with the right motivation.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that, because I tried to quit like 5 times before and it never panned out, right? For this time, but
you didn't have the right motivation.
Yeah, this time there was a mix of, excitement, a little bit of fear, trepidation. What would I expect? It's supposed to be a 9-hour hike up and down. And anybody who knows Mount Washington knows how tough it can be. So, that little bit of fear, I think, was kind of gestated inside me, and it made me motivated to do that. So I haven't had a cigarette since that day. So I started training from that day on. And I thought at the time I was training pretty intensely, and I think I dropped about 25 pounds for the actual hike, which happened in late August of 2018. So I was still heavy, but I was in better shape. I thought I was in decent shape, but I severely underestimated Mount Washington. So it was a 10-hour climb, and for 6 hours of it, I was in the most excruciating physical and mental pain you could think of. For those 6 hours, my mind rotated to just 3 thoughts over and over again. I want a Coca-Cola. I don't know why, but Coca-Cola.
I love the things, Coca-Cola.
Like sugar, caffeine, whatever, taurine, whatever's in that thing, it made me want a Coca-Cola. 2 was I had visions of me strangling Jesse for making me go through this. I remember just complaining the whole way, going, "Oh, what did you do to me?" Like it was.
You must have been a horrible partner.
And God bless Jesse, he just kind of took it, right? And then the third thing was just simply
God bless him.
keep moving one step at a time. Just keep moving next tree, next boulder. I just kept thinking all it takes, just take 10 more steps and that's it. 10 more steps and you'll decide what to do. 10 more steps, you can get a break, right? At one point in time, though, I turned to Jesse and I swear to God, with no jokes, dead serious, I said, "Jesse, leave me here. I want to die." That's what I said to him. I said, "Just leave me here, man. Just leave me."
I'm glad you're telling me
if
this
I die,
now.
I die. I mean, at least the pain would stop, right? Like I was in that state where it was blinding pain. I just didn't want to go anymore. But so 6 hours of just pure torture. But a real interesting thing happened when I reached the bottom of the mountain. When I reached the bottom, I fell in love with the mountain really hard. Like I fell in love with the mountain, with nature, with the process of doing something hard, being in that moment and the feeling of accomplishing something really, really hard, because I didn't think I could do it. Halfway through, I thought I was done, right? And that was the moment this endurance sports journey began. So let's go back to the question. Why do I like to set big personal goals? I think, and I've thought about this many times, like why do I suddenly love this now? I think I want to relive that moment when I fell in love. Everyone think about, all the listeners, think about falling in love with your significant other. The moment you set eyes on them, the moment you realized that you had feelings. It's that butterflies, that initial feeling of excitement, right? That you never almost get back. So it's like when I got off that mountain, time stopped. Like all of my senses were super heightened and I felt so alive. It's an intense and very purposeful embracing of life in that moment. And what's really interesting is that over time, I have come to love the training of those events leading up to the event. So it's not just about like the moment I climb, I love the entire preparation that comes with it.
Yeah,
right?
The journey.
And so you remember the day that we got married, how wonderful that was? How amazing that our wedding day was?
What are you going to say?
But remember the days leading up to it. I think were almost as much or maybe even more memorable because of the anticipation, right?
Yeah.
And training for me is like that. It's the days of leading up to the marriage, to getting married. And our listeners can take that any way they want. But you know what?
Fair enough.
I can talk.
I love that though. I love that analogy because it's true. The excitement of a vacation and the planning of a vacation and all the anticipation before you get onto that plane. There's so much of that, and you really I enjoy that part.
It's incredible. It's almost it's when you get to a plane and you get there, it's almost anticlimactic, isn't it?
No, a little bit.
It's like, okay, we're here.
Not really, but a little bit.
Well, maybe when you're not like you're in your.
It depends where you're going.
True.
And if the hotel is nice and all those other things, but I can appreciate it from that perspective of a trip.
Okay, so I can talk about this for hours, but
I know.
I think our listeners.
Among other things.
I think our listeners want to hear from you. So, Andrea, share your big goals for the year with the listeners, and what inspires you to set big goals for your life and your business?
Ooh, okay. So I have a few really big goals that are big goals that I wrote down in January that I set for myself. And one of them was to host my own retreat in an exotic location. I wanted to take on at least 5 public speaking opportunities, and I was hoping to get over to the 7-figure mark. All of these goals scared the crap out of me. I had no idea how I was going to do it. But those are the things that I wrote on my paper in January, among a few other things. I also wanted to grow my mentorship program. I host a mentorship program. That was on my goal sheet for last year, and I accomplished that.
Congrats.
And this year, I'm hoping to grow.
I like the Aurora to 8 figures because Daddy needs new mountaineering equipment.
I'm working on it. So I think the thing for me when I was trying to come up with my goals, I was thinking about what really scares me. And quite honestly, public speaking probably scares me the most. This is why this whole podcast is such a big deal. But I think that when you feel that sense of, that it's almost like a pull. Like, I don't know if I can do that, or that's scary, or that's hard, or I'm not available for that. You want to go deeper and ask why. Is it because you're afraid, or shy, or embarrassed, or you don't think you can do it? Or is it because it doesn't excite you? It's not interesting. For me, there was a lot of women, female entrepreneurs that I looked up to who are doing these things. And they were strong, powerful, and confident women. And I admired them so much, but I never thought that I could do that. So those are the things that I put on my goal card, if you will, because I knew that I was attracted to these women for the reasons that I didn't think I could do it myself. And that's how I knew that was going to be my goal, because I knew that if I wrote it down, it had to be.
Well, you're doing a great job, so I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
Daddy needs new mountaineering equipment.
So setting goals, I guess, is one thing, but staying on track to achieve them is a whole other challenge, as you know. So I'd love to talk a little bit about what strategies you use to maintain focus and momentum towards your personal and professional goals, as well as family goals, because being an ultra athlete takes a lot of mental strength and focus, and you also take a lot of time to do the things that you want to do.
True, and I really appreciate a very understanding wife and mother. Gifts go a long way.
Sometimes I hate you.
I know. Okay, so let me answer this question. I do have a personal motto, which is one of many. Motivation does not lead to action. Action leads to motivation. Let me say that again. Motivation does not lead to action. Action leads to motivation. It's the opposite.
So the motivation doesn't come first.
Exactly.
In other words.
Exactly.
It's the action that comes
Exactly.
first, and then the motivation
Exactly.
follows.
Action is what dictates what I do, and then the motivation comes after that. So from a simpler perspective, I prioritize what's important. I plan it, then schedule, then I execute. And I do this over and over and over again. It's a very simple loop, right? I prioritize, I schedule, I execute over and over again. And I'll give you an example. So
No, what does that look
so
like?
right now, I wake up at 4:30 in the morning, almost every morning to train on the weekdays. And I head out to usually for a 9.3 mile run on the weekdays. And on the weekends, usually about 18 to 20 mile runs, or 6 days a week. So 9 out of 10 times when that alarm clock goes up, actually every day when that alarm clock goes up, I am not motivated to get up, right? It's like every day I have an internal conversation with myself going, do I really want to get out there? Why should I run today? I ran yesterday. My brain literally wants me to go back to bed, right?
Especially today.
Especially when it's pouring rain or
outside.
minus 30 degrees outside, right? Yes, I do run when it's minus 30 degrees outside. So I have a system in place. Action is the system, and the system is my action. I eliminate all barriers, and I lay out my sub-goals. The night before, I lay out all of my running clothes and the equipment for the run on the table by the back door.
Can I tell you, I interrupt you? I sleep in my workout clothes.
There you go.
Sometimes.
See?
Because I know if I have to put on that sports bra, I'm not getting
Exactly. My first goal when I wake up is not to run. It's not, do I want to go out and run today? It's to make a first pot of coffee. That's it. All I think about when I get up is I need to go make a pot of coffee. My second goal is to put on my running clothes. So I don't even think about what I need to do. I just go put on a cup of coffee and put on my clothes. That's it. Then third, I sit down, I put on a YouTube video as I drink my coffee, and I start to do a little stretching routine. Those are the first three things I do. I don't even think about what I need to do, how far I need to go. None of that matters. Right now, I just want to put a pot of coffee on, put on my clothes, and watch TV. That sounds pretty good, right? That sounds pretty easy. Now, if at this time I still want to go back to bed, then I go back to bed. But that's rarely ever happened. Rarely. I think a couple of times where I felt sick, I said, okay, you know what? Maybe it's not a good time to run because I don't want to get any sicker. But rarely at that particular point in time do I say, okay, let's get undressed and go back to bed.
No, you never do that. I think if anything, you even go out and then come back sooner than you think you will. Because
Rarely.
you don't feel well and it doesn't feel better after getting out there. But you've never, ever come back to bed.
So let me get back to that original question now. My goal is not to run every day for the next 10 years. Like that's, the motivation. I want to be a great runner 10 years from now or a mountain. That's not my goal. I mean, it's a great goal, but it's just it seems so unattainable. My goal is just to make a pot of coffee every morning when I get up. And then the system does the rest. See what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the way I keep track. That's the way I make myself accountable, which is I have systems and schedules in place that allow me to go to the next step. Because all I have to do is get to the first step, make a pot of coffee. Right. And then everything else happens to that.
To be fair, though, your goal is to run every morning. But you know that because you put out your clothes the night before, you do other things you need to do to remove any decision-making that might impact your action of getting out the door in the morning. So the pot of coffee is the joyful part of waking up early. Yeah, it's not... And that's what you focus on.
I mean, the big goals are obviously I want to live a happy life. I want to enjoy what I do. And then you break it down to sub-goals. Like every year I have 3.
But those are not concise.
That's right. I have 3. And then my second sub-goal is I want to run 3 main races. And then I just kind of break down my goals from that. So all the way down to make a pot of coffee at 4:30 in the morning. That's how minute and granular I get so that... so that my activity does not depend on my motivation, because motivation is notoriously unreliable. But my schedule or my routine is reliable. Okay, and that's how it works.
You are very much a routine-oriented person. You really thrive when you are in a routine that serves you.
Now, Andrea, celebrating our achievements is an essential part of the journey. But how do we celebrate when we reach goals, and why is it important to acknowledge our progress along the way? You know me, I reward myself with running shoes, new running shoes.
That's why I'm laughing. I'm like, wow. We all know
Carbon plates.
We have like 500 pairs of running shoes in the basement. And
I love all of them.
another one shows up.
You know, one time, I'll tell you a story that Andrea doesn't know. I went to get some shoes at my local running store, Running Free. Shout out to runningfree.ca. And I had a gift card, and I bought 3 pairs of running shoes.
Thanks, Mama Bear.
And I bought 3 pairs of running shoes, and they asked for, I had a refund. I bought a pair, and then I had to refund, and they were going to refund it on my credit card. And I said, no. And they said, why? And I said, because I don't want my wife to see this. And the guy laughed at me and said, do you know how many guys ask me not to have a strategy, not to make like the wives know that they're buying running shoes and running gear? It happens all the time.
It's kind of like women with their Amazon packages.
Every day I see one coming in. What's going on?
It's good to know. I'll be checking the credit card statements more thoroughly from now on. But getting back to your question about celebrating and why it's important to acknowledge your progress is because we often forget how to look back. We always are looking ahead and forward and trying to, every time we achieve the goal, we say, okay, good job. What's the next goal? Let's go to the next thing. Instead of stopping and being present in that moment of achievement. So we need to, every so often, even at, weekly, daily, look back and say, look how far I've come. Look how much I've accomplished.
Yeah, it's important.
And when we do that, it actually helps to motivate us to go further faster because we realize how incredible the journey has already been.
That's a really good point.
Peter and I, we celebrate in different ways, but we always celebrate with our team, a nice lunch out, the financial bonus, whatever we can do. And then we often celebrate. Peter buys his shoes, I'll buy something that I like, or we'll take a small trip. We'll do something to acknowledge the achievement. But
I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think what happened, the celebration is what ties everything together in the end to make the goal and the event real, right? And in my perspective, I could actually say that climbing my mountain is the reward. The training is the goal.
Yes.
Right? So that's...
I like that.
Yeah, I think that's the way I look at it.
The mountain is the reward. If you are successful on that mountain, that is your goal achieved. You survived, you did it. You trained well. I think celebrating is also another way for future abundance. So when you say thank you for something, if you believe in this step, the universe sort of responds with more abundance. So gratitude and celebration is all part of that. So despite our best efforts, though, Peter, sometimes things don't always go as planned. How do you course correct when you realize you're veering off track of your goals, or the goals don't align anymore? Like the goal that you set for yourself, let's say last year, it doesn't light you up anymore. You have something bigger, different.
Well, that's a very personal question. I think, the answer is it depends. But, my old boss used to have a phrase I still use today, which is you get what you incent, right? You get what you incent. If you incentivize the behavior that you want, you usually get that behavior. I mean, commissions, bonuses, that's exactly what they are. They're incentives to herd and push a certain behavior a certain way. I think when you're a small team, we need to communicate frequently and freely and not bring in too much bureaucracy into it. That should be a feature and not a bug, right? Because you're a small team. Mm-hmm. If you're a speedboat, you use that to your advantage. Try different things, fail fast, and fail forward. That's the mantra of a small business and a startup. Larger organizations, of course, it's much more difficult to do. Like imagine what a company of 150,000 employees would need to do to course correct. But the same fundamentals would usually apply, which is you communicate, you incentivize, and you get buy-in. Of course, it's easier to say than to do. Lots of companies out there, larger companies have failed because they couldn't do this in time, or they couldn't do it fast enough, or they couldn't get buy-in. I think buy-in is one of the most important things. When you're trying to course correct it, every person, every employee, every team member has to get on the same bus as you, or the direction you're going. Because if you're not, it's going to go haywire. Again, people is always the more important part.
But in a team of like, let's say 10, if one person does not choose to get on that bus, what do you do?
That's another great question.
That's my job today.
I think number one, you try to incent that behavior, right? The first thing is, what is it that person wants to get on board? Because it's not a debate. The person cannot negotiate whether they believe in the direction that you're going or not. They must buy into that direction. So first is to incentivize. Is it about money? Is it about time off? Is it about a reward? What is it about the goal that they are not willing to buy into? Can you solve it? And if we can incentivize that behavior, will they be able to do it? Right? So that's one. And the second is, if they won't do it, then it's always best that person probably doesn't belong on your team. Maybe they'll do a better job and they'll be more focused and more bought in at another team or another company. Maybe it's just not a fit. And that happens. That happens quite a bit.
Yeah.
Corporate stories are littered with tales of employees and companies going other ways because the goals no longer fit. It happens, right?
Yeah.
Now,
it happens. And being able to recognize that sooner than later is better for both.
Exactly.
parties.
And I want to make sure that we emphasize that. It's not about a company doing wrong to an employee or an employee doing wrong to a company. Both parties are better off if you're not aligned with goals of each other. If a company does not want a employee to take time off because they have a kid and they have a life that, maybe they need more flexibility, and then I'm willing to give it, and the employee is not willing to, bend whatever to the company's goals, maybe the best thing to do is the company find a fit that's better, and the employee finds a fit that's better, right? It happens all the time. As we continue to set and pursue big, scary goals, Andrea, what are some aspirations you have for the future, both personally and professionally?
So, Peter, looking ahead, as we continue to set and pursue big, scary goals, what are some aspirations you have for the future, both professionally and personally?
Let's see. Professionally, I think I'd love to continue to explore new and exotic skincare ingredients to introduce to our customers. That really lights me up. I really enjoy that part of the business.
Yeah, I think that's something new for you too. Like, I don't think you expected that. It kind of happened.
Yeah.
Well, you get really excited about formulations.
Love it. If I could, right now, I think if I can hand over the operational duties to you and just kind of explore the world for new ingredients, that would make me very happy. I'd love to truly expand Saranghae and Aurora globally. I'd like to replicate the R&D team in Korea and facilities into North America so we can move quicker and do more things here locally that have to wait for the Korean team. Personally, I'd love to climb an 8,000 meter mountain in the Himalayas. Everest. Just kidding.
Is this a public ask?
I'm
But I'm gonna be shamed into saying yes.
I'm putting it out in the netosphere that I'm gonna attach the Himalayan mountains.
Yeah.
I'd like to qualify for the Ultra Trail du Mont Blanc, UTMB 100-mile ultra marathon in Chamonix. It's been a dream of mine for a long, long time.
I love that you said that.
Ultra Trail du Mont Blanc. And then the last one is to run the Marathon des Sables, which is the Marathon of the Sands. It's a 250-kilometer multi-stage race across the Sahara Desert. Something that I've been looking forward to for a long, long time as well. So those are my professional and personal goals. Now, Andrea, Mrs. Lee, Miss Murad, what about you? Can you share with the listeners some of your big personal and professional goals?
Well, some of my big personal goal is to take control of my gut health. As many of you may or may not know, I developed ulcerative colitis during my first pregnancy 8 years ago with my son. I have it mostly under control, but I have a big goal of completely eliminating it. And I know there's lots of people out there who think I'm crazy and that that's not possible. But I'm not in the business of what you think is possible. I'm in the business of creating what's possible.
I like that.
So from this place, my goal is to completely heal my gut. And I am creating my action steps right now for that is to create a team of people who are aligned with my goal. So I don't want people who don't believe that's possible for me and are not willing to experiment.
Can you go a little further into that? Can you explain to our listeners what do you mean by that? Like what do you mean by the people who are not aligned with your goals?
Aligned, I see. So we live in Toronto, Canada, and a lot of the medical doctors that I've worked with have been very big on pushing heavy medication to manage my condition. And I do believe that there's a place for that. And I very highly respect these people. So this is not me knocking anybody. It's simply that I believe that the body has the complete ability to heal itself, given the right tools in the right environment. And some medical professionals agree that that is possible, and they're open to exploring that with me. And others have completely shut me down and basically said that's impossible, and unless you follow this regimen that I have set up for you, I will not see you. So I'm looking for a team of medical professionals who are in the holistic approach business, who are looking from, the medical side, but also the nutrition side, also the perhaps Eastern medicine side. And I'm looking to put together a team of people who will work together with me for my total wellness plan.
Beautiful. That's very nice.
And so that's my personal goal. My professional goal is to grow Saranghae into a complete wellness company. So we are not just looking at skincare, we are expanding into bigger things. So for example, we've already started with the collagen powder, and I'm looking at supplements, I'm looking at other tools, things that we can enhance and encourage further.
Maybe we can run some contests, some events where we can invite some of our best customers to a retreat in maybe Costa Rica. I don't know.
That's the plan. That's my other big goal is I'm hosting a South retreat in an exotic location for 15 female entrepreneurs or people who are females who are looking to start their entrepreneurial journey. That'll be early 2025, and that scares me, but it's so exciting at the same time. And I was not invited. So those are my really big ones for this.
And our audience should know that I was not invited.
No, you're uninvited, actually. You're definitely uninvited, unless you identify as a woman in the next couple of months, which I hope you do not. That would not serve me at all.
I suppose not.
No,
okay.
Not at all. But anyway, thank you. This is the end of our podcast for today. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Love Saranghae, where we shared how we set and achieve our big, scary goals. We hope you will spend some time thinking about and creating some big, scary goals of your own.
Fantastic.
And please do feel free to share them with us. We love hearing from you.
Fantastic. With that, we're signing off.
Have a great week. Bye. Thanks for listening to Love Saranghae with us, Peter and Andrea. If you've enjoyed this episode, leave us a review. Your ratings and reviews help more people like you find our show. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and share this podcast with someone you think would love it. Until next time, love yourself, love one another, and love the world.